Hey, what is going on, everybody? Listen, it is finally springtime in Texas. The weather is perfect. It is so amazing outside. I cannot believe it. And listen, that means it is time to get fully back into this content. We need to start working on ponds. We need to start working on all kinds of things. I put out a couple of videos about... Hey, Johnny, do you mind shutting up? I'm trying to film here. We just put out a couple of videos on our turtle pond that we have set up in the set up in the garage that we have done all kinds of things with. And in fact, there's a video coming out on that next where we're stocking that pond with hundreds of fish. But today we're gonna focus on some of our favorite fish. In fact, it is my absolute favorite fish, the most amazing fish on the planet, and that is the guppy. And we're gonna give you an update on our breeding system. It's been set up for about 6 months now, and we're gonna talk all about that. So listen, if you're new to the channel, welcome, and for everybody else, welcome back. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that, and let's get into this video today. All right, guys, before we get started, we're gonna take a look back at these from when we originally set them up, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of plants in here, and there's not a lot of algae in the baby bin, but there is now. So we're gonna start by cleaning these things out, and we're gonna go ahead and start with this bin that has the frog bit in it, because this stuff is thick. This frog bit is just completely overtaking this bin to the point where the plant itself is actually starting to not be healthy. So we need to get this cleaned out and this thinned out. We'll put some of this in another setup at some point, but for now, let's just go ahead and get all this stuff out of here and get it into a 5-gallon bucket. Well, look at this, guys. I'm cleaning out the frog bit, and I found something I forgot I put in here. And this right here, guys, this is an Anubias nana. And this thing is growing so good. All right, back to the frog bit clean out. All right, well, the frog bit's done. Now it's time to clean out this guppy grass. And I'm trying to lift this up as simple as I can without disturbing the substrate too much. But this stuff has grown fully into the substrate, so it's kind of difficult. So let's go ahead and get this stuff out of here too. All right, let's move over to this middle tub and start removing all of these red root floaters out of this tub. There is a ton in here. I mean, so many of these have grown, and I started with such a small amount, and this stuff has grown great. All right, well, now that we have all the plants out of here, it's time to do a water change. And in this last bin where the babies are, I'm actually gonna drain this all the way down pretty much to nothing, because I've got to get all of this settled dead algae out, and we're actually looking for something specific, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. Well, now that we have all of this water and algae out here and we can see these fish, here are the original babies we put in here forever ago. And they're growing up, and they're actually mature at this point and have had their own babies, some of which you can see swimming around right here. Here is what I was looking for in this algae. So if you notice, there's a bunch of creatures moving around in this algae. And what I did is when I drained all the water and the algae into a bucket, I just filtered this through this net to catch all of these. I know exactly what they are, but the question is do you know what they are? And for the first person to answer correctly in the comments in an unedited comment, I'll ship you a free piece of Christopher Scott merch. All right, guys, well, we got some new water to fill these tubs up, and we're gonna go ahead and dechlorinate this with some API Aqua Essential. All right, guys, well, you can see that we have gotten all of these filled back up and everything has cleared up. I have, currently in this setup right here, I have 6 adult females that I have been waiting for them to just give birth. I mean, they supposedly will hold their sperm for 10 months, and there are no babies in this setup. So I'm hoping that we're all good here. In this one over here, we have 5 females and some small offspring. Those offspring are gonna be taken out of here and placed into this setup where all of the original offspring are, plus all the offspring that they've had, which is crazy. And there's a ton of pregnant guppies in there right now. So we're gonna go ahead and capture these offspring real quick with a net and move them into this setup. And then we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do. So these setups are identical as far as the water parameters, temperature, everything. So I can just move these over without acclimation, and it looks like we have 6 babies. So we're gonna go ahead and let these guys out, and all is good there. We have all babies removed from each of these tubs, and they are left here in this 3rd tub that we call the green tub. And the reason we call it the green tub is somebody made the recommendation that I leave all the algae in the tub because they like to eat it, and I wanted to see how fast they would grow having that algae in there, and it's actually significant. Like, I didn't have to feed as much, and they were growing so quick, which is super nice. So I will definitely stop removing algae from my guppy tanks for sure when I'm breeding. So we have a whole tub of babies here, and then over here we have nothing but unaltered females, we'll call them. They should be at this point baby free, hopefully, and you never know. And that's okay, because we're not breeding specific strains, we're just breeding guppies in general. So we'll talk about what we're doing with all these guppies later on, but for now, everything looks good. So now we need to work on some plant cleanup. And if you notice, this is all of the plants that have been growing in here for the last 6 months. And you can see just even on this Anubias Nana right here, like this whole piece of rhizome is new with all of this new leaf growth, which is super fantastic. We also have an Anubias Nana Petite, which also has been sitting in here growing. This thing was like a small little piece when it first started, which that is fantastic. We have a bunch of, well, I say a bunch, it's not a ton, but we do have some jungle val. I believe this is jungle val, maybe Italian vals too. I can't really tell, it's a little young for me to tell, but this stuff has been growing in here really, really well. So we're gonna drop that back in here as well. And then the rest of this is all frog bit. And I started the frog bit with just a couple of pods of frog bit, and this stuff has taken off. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna clean this up quite a bit. And what we're gonna do to clean it is a couple of things. Number one, get rid of all of the red root floater that's stuck to it. And then we're just gonna clean off these dead leaves by just removing them. Any leaf that doesn't look great, we're just gonna pull off. And then we're gonna take the bottom of this and we're gonna leave about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch of these roots, and we're just gonna pull the roots off and discard those. Perfectly okay for these plants. It actually helps them, or it appears to help them grow more. And that plant right there, that one right there is perfect to go back into a setup. And we're gonna do that with every one of these little pods. As you can see, some of these are really big. I mean, it's almost the size of a nickel probably. I mean, really nice sized pieces of frog bit. Some of these leaves will turn yellow as they sit underneath the other leaves just because of not getting enough light. So I'll continue cleaning these later on. I'm not gonna put all these back in there. That is all the growth. I mean, look at that. I started with just a few pods, maybe this much, and over the last 6 months in these little tiny tubs, that is what it's come to. So you could imagine if you had a much larger scale, how fast this stuff could grow if you just treat it right. Now we're gonna move on to our next bunch of plants. And what we have here is we have a whole bunch of guppy grass. This is another thing that I've been growing, is this guppy grass. This stuff is doing so well in here. We're gonna take a lot of this out once again and only put in a small amount, but we're gonna put about this much back into each one of these tubs, and then we're gonna reuse the rest of it for other things. Give a little guppy grass to these guys up here. Take a little bit more. We're gonna give it to these guys right here. And then take another little piece of it. We're gonna give this to these guys over here. All right, well with that, we also have these red root floaters. Another thing, I put maybe one little piece of red root floater in there, and this is what it turned into, guys. I mean, all of this right here, just from feeding it the proper way, giving it the right light, things like that. So we're gonna go ahead and put some of this in here too. We're gonna keep this separate. So we're not gonna put that into the same tub where our frog bit is. We're gonna put this into this middle tub where there is no frog bit. So we're gonna go ahead and drop this in here, get this stuff separated so it can float around, and let that stuff take off. So from our entire setup, I have quite a bit of plants that are left over, and we still have tons of plants. Look at all the guppy grass that's in this green tub, all of the guppy grass, and then the red root floaters that are on top. And then over here, we're full of guppy grass, with all of the frog bit that's on top. And we still have this entire bin that was produced from these 3 tubs, as well as this 5-gallon bucket of frog bit as well. So these plants are actually going to be used for a different setup that will actually be coming in a video soon. So stay tuned for that. And we're also going to talk about the profit on that. Well, I quickly wanted to come over here and show you this other tank that I have over here in the fish room that has guppies in it and some other things. And you really can't see into this tank very well. Well, and that's partially because of the glare on the tank, but as well as the coverage on the top from these red root floaters. Look at this thing. This thing is amazing. We have this red vein plant up here that is doing fantastic. I have this old monstera that was completely dead in a pot that I don't even remember where it had come from, but it was completely dead in the pot. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to throw this thing into this tank. I think it would look epic in here. And all of a sudden, this thing started growing roots and completely bloomed out brand new leaves, and this thing is doing fantastic. And then we have another plant over here that's doing the same thing. And then we've got this English ivy that's up here in the background. Everything in this tank is also doing well. So this tank is by far one of my favorites though. Let's see if we can get down here and take a look. There's all the male guppies. You can see that it is super dark in here, and these guys are doing fantastic. Here's the root system of our monstera. So we have guppies, neon tetra, and then there are also a bunch of Cory catfish in here. There's one of our Corys there, but there is another one there, and then there's another one back there. So I'm really happy with this setup and the way this has turned out. I do need to clean off some of these red root floaters to get some light down in. Even though the plants that are down in here are doing okay, we have, I can't remember what that grass is called. We have an Anubias that's sitting right here. We have another Anubias that's sitting right there, completely underneath the cover of this, and it's still doing fantastic. That right there looks like a crypt of some sort. Some more of that grass, but all the plants are doing fantastic in here. So I really do like this setup. I will actually put a card up in the top corner that will link you back to the build of this if you want to go back and watch that when we set this up. I love the waterfall in it. We have some moss that's up here growing, some more moss down in here, but one of my favorite tanks ever. So one of my other favorite setups is this pond right here. Do you guys remember seeing us set up this pond, or do you remember any of the videos around this pond? I used to have shabunkin goldfish and all kinds of stuff in this pond, and unfortunately a catastrophic event killed all of the fish in this pond, all of the plants, everything. The only thing that survived were the turtles, and unfortunately you know, that happened a couple of years ago. I never talked about it, and you know, it's time to restore this thing and restock it. I have a way to prevent that happening again, and we'll talk about that when we do that video. But let me know in the comments, do you think we should restore this pond and get this thing back operating, growing plants, and as well as get this thing stocked with some more goldfish and things of that nature? Anyway, let me know down below. So with that, guys, hopefully you went on to enjoy this video today. Hopefully you enjoying the content. The next video is going to come out in about 4 days. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so, as well as follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Links to both are down below. And with that, hey, thank you so very much. I truly am grateful. I really am. And I cannot thank you enough for coming and spending your time watching my videos. So with that, guys, we will see you next time.